Hey, Dagger here, and I just kind of want to talk a little bit about my last few months in the game and my next few months in the game, and kind of talk about where I am before Season 2 of Grand Arena Championships, hopefully dubbed as the First Order Championships, because we're getting First Order feats. So let's hop into the roster, and I'll kind of talk about it. So the last 3 months have been pretty busy. I have everything kind of sorted by squad. I've been kind of hammering on Gear 13s. If we rewind 3 months, we'll be looking at July, which means GOTB had just come out. So, over the last 3 months, my goal was to be ready for Darkside TB. I'm finishing up the Grievous team. I worked on the, I worked on the Geonosians. And I made it to Division 2. Well, I was Division 2 going into... Anyways, so looking through my roster, I came to the realization when GAC rebooted, because I was expecting to have to place 7 teams on defense at 4 million. And I think Kyle's going to talk about this a little bit too. But needing 16 teams was just a giant kick in the teeth. I was like 4 million. I was like 4-ish million, somewhere in there, during the first exhibition. So 2 grand arenas ago, so to speak. So 3 months ago? Yeah, that's about 3 months ago. So, what have I worked on / learned? Well, I've learned CG likes to stretch us real thin in more ways than one. So, I put all my teams together and I came up with a plan. So, my first plan was to build 16 teams. So, as you can see, as I scroll down, you'll see some of these teams are incomplete, sort of, but they have different moving pieces. As you get to the bottom, you'll see that there's more complete teams. So, if we go in here and go to edit, we'll just do Treya. You'll see that I have a bunch of tunes not assigned to teams. And that's because these are the tunes that kind of plug in or create garbage time teams. So, the goal 3 months ago was to get up to 16 teams. So, it was basically going passive on farms and hammering gear as hard as possible. So, this is about the same time I was finishing up the Padme team, which was a gear and a Zeta Hog. So I ended up doing Geonosians instead of Grievous, because the Geonosians were a 1 Zeta team. And I was putting the last couple Zetas on characters while I was gearing them to basically help myself keep a steady rate of growth, so to speak. Also, I hammered mods really hard the last 3 months. I think I close to doubled, not doubled. I added like 100 plus 10s in the last month and about 20 plus 15s, maybe 25. So I put in a ton of work, and I'm just finishing up clones here, and I'm finishing up the Grievous team, and I'm taking Anakin and Ahsoka to Gear 13. Those are my current projects. From 3 months ago, right? So when Gear 13 came out, my list of Gear 13s, I'll sort by gear tier here for you. My thought process was to take my meta team to Gear 13, then take my meta counter to Gear 13, which was CLS, and then to take the standalone characters up to Gear 13. Grievous, Nest, Thrawn, GK, and Bosk. And, well, Relics made me Gear 13 Bosk because of Fleet. So, I kind of made my decisions, and I built up the top of my roster, and I'm going to be slowly Gear 13ing tunes, but I'm going to kind of calm down on the Gear 13, because as we come back over here, you'll see I have a ton of Gear 11s, unfortunately, still. As we scroll down, you'll see, basically, the Grievous team needs all kinds of gear, and then you just see a bunch of Gear 11s, because at one point I just stopped pushing tunes to Gear 12 because I needed more teams. So you'll see, like, the Troopers, and you'll see Kylo Ren's not geared because he needs 73.5 Carbantes. And I already had like Old Ben and Wiggs Gear 12 for reasons. And you can see down here that I have 10 characters, which are currently projects that I want to get to. For no other reason besides I like the characters and I would like them geared up. And in the case of Wampa and Hoda, once I finish Malik, they will be ready to be farmed. Again, also looking forward, I want to continue to hammer mods very hard. So, the goal is, again, these teams are roughly in order of gear and how I want them geared. So, as you kind of go down, you can see JT. I don't know if I want to take Holdo and Resistance Trooper to Gear 12 because the JTR team is not as good as I'd like it to be. But yeah, the Grievous team is pretty high on my priority list to at least get these droids to Gear 11 with Newt for TB and GA. And you can kind of see, like, some of these teams are pretty done. I don't see myself Gear 12ing anything else on the EP team or the First Order team yet. I could see myself Gear 12ing the Trooper team at some point, but I'm not super high on that. So as you kind of see the teams I'm working on, you can kind of see that a lot of them aren't worth pushing too much higher. So I'm kind of stuck as far as that's concerned. So as you kind of go through the roster, you can kind of see, like, what I've focused on. You can see some of the past metas, some of the past fleets. I did kind of a gear dump before Grand Arena because I wanted to get as many of my tunes up as I could. So there's less green pluses than there normally are on my roster. So if I just kind of think about it, like, I've come a long way in the last 3 months. I have 16 teams. About 12 of them I'm confident in. I have several consistent performing defense teams, and I like the flexibility I now have on offense. I don't actually have 16 teams. If we count here, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 teams. Sorry, I know. Compelling TV to watch me count to 17. If I got to 21, I'd be kind of screwed because I'd already have my pants off. So, unfortunately, as you can see, I'm still a little thin as far as my teams go in Grand Arena. So I end up having to put a couple of bad teams on defense sometimes if I think my opponent is going to struggle on my Darth Revan or one of my walls to give me an extra team for offense. Going forward, I feel pretty confident in Division 1 because in the next 3 months, I will obviously be in Division 1. You can't see it, but I'm actually pointing at the top right. I am 4.4 million. So I will definitely be Division 1, probably the next GAC. So I think I'm ready. Like I said, I'm a little short on teams. I've been putting most of my effort into mods. We'll kind of come back here. I am taking first in both arenas, which does help me with my daily crystal income. I can unlock the negotiator right now if I wanted to, but I want to keep 39k in the bank. And I'm happy that we're going to be having ships back in GA. Because I have way too much GP in my ships. You can see I started buying the negotiator. I started buying it because, like I said, I'm keeping 39k in reserve. If I come up here and we look at my GP spread, you can see that I have 1.85 in ship power, which is much higher than most of my contemporaries. From what I've seen in Grand Arena, most people my GP have at least 150 to 200k more character GP than I do. So I kind of feel the strain of that. But that's kind of what I'm looking for in the game. I'm looking forward to finishing up my teams. I don't have any legendaries or anything to get, so I have nothing that I'm shooting for outside of finishing clones and separatist droids. If I was to extrapolate my goals a little more, I guess, to encompass 3 months, it would be getting 100 and 20 characters. I have 87 right now. Getting 23 more characters to Gear 11 or better. And by the end of the year, I would like to be looking at about 20 Gear 13s. I have 13 now. And additionally, probably 50 Gear 12s. I have 39. And 50 Gear 11s. So I definitely have aspirations, we'll say. Where will I end up? I don't know. I'm basically trying to finish off farming Cantina because I have Jawa, Imperial Super Commando, and Gar Saxon left. Before I start on Relics, I think it'll give me a good self-control. I'm trying to exercise a little bit of self-control and keep my GP a little lower, if possible, because I think I'm in a good spot with Relics. Not a great spot, but in a good spot until the next meta comes out. So until I know anything, I'm kind of in a holding pattern. But that's kind of where I'm at as far as the game is and what I'm looking to do. My roadmap is basically finishing up the Zetas on these teams. So in the next 3 months, I want a Zeta Grievous lead B2 in Newt. I might put a Zeta on Daka. And a personal Zeta I want to do because I just want to do it is the Wicked Zeta. Or start working on the Zetas on my Galactic Republic 501st team when they finally finish that team off for me. Right, like when General Skywalker or whoever the fifth ends up being for that team, I will want to start putting Zetas on them as well, which is again why I'm finishing them off. They're at the bottom because they're basically a 3-man team at this point. I can maybe sub in Plo Koon as a 4th, but I'm not really deep at Galactic Republic, especially after Padme. Thanks for watching, and ignore that Cho Yang got the Millennium Falcon at 7 stars. He's kind of a jerk. That's kind of my plan and my reflection on the last 3 months and looking forward to the next 3. Just stay on target, my friends. Have a good one.